Okay, am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, so good afternoon and welcome to this session. So let us learn about voidable contract in person now. So my topic is voidable contract. So before getting to know what voidable contract is, first let us start up with the meaning of contract. So what is the meaning of contract? The word contract is originated from the word contractum, which means to be drawn together. So contractum basically comes from Latin. With keeping that in mind, let us jump into what contract is. According to the section 2H of the Indian Contract Act 1872, contract is defined as an agreement enforceable by law. So to know what an agreement is nothing but offer plus acceptance. Contract is legally binding agreement. It creates a consequence if the obligation is not met, which means if two parties have agreed to do something, like let's say I have agreed to sell my property to you, and if I don't do that, it becomes an illegitimate activity. So all the contracts are agreements, but not all agreements are contract. Note this is a very important point. Examples for contract is lease contract, insurance contract, finance contract, and we can keep on listing it. When it comes to the stages of contract, there are three stages of contract: formation, performance, and termination. Formation, as in two parties mutually has to accept to sign a contract. As I said, I have agreed to sell my house to you, and it should be out of free consent and free will. That is formation. Performance is you and me signing a contract legally. We'll be legally binding it. That means that contract holds some value in the eyes of law. Termination, as in the contract is successfully completed and we are terminating the contract here. So there are three main classifications of contract, but here we are only reading about the contract which is based on enforceability, which means how we use it. So there are three basic enforceability contracts. They are valid contract, voidable contract, and void agreement. So we'll be basically dealing more with voidable contract. But before jumping into voidable contract, I want you to understand what a valid contract and a void agreement is. First, why do you tell that it is a void agreement and not void contract? Contract can never be void. That is the basic thing. So valid contract holds some value in the eyes of law, which means a contract which is legit or legal. Legit means it holds some value in the eyes of law. Is valid in legal binding. What does legal binding means? That is what it holds some value in the eyes of law. So for example, a homeowner as or house owner who is over the age of 18. Why do you say that he is over the age of 18? Because it considered him as a major. And sound mind because he knows what he's doing and is aware of it, which means, as I've already told, that a contract to happen, both the parties should have sound mind and it should be out of free consent. Has signed a contract with the store to buy a refrigerator. So that means a house owner is walking into a store and is ordering a refrigerator. The house owner pays for the refrigerator and the shopkeeper brings that refrigerator to home. That means offer and acceptance. As we have discussed here, agreement means offer and acceptance. Here offer becomes the house owner who is paying for the refrigerator is offer. Acceptance here means he's accepting the money. He's accepting the money and he's selling the commodity to the house owner. So this is a perfect example for valid contract. Now come to void agreement. Void agreement means it holds no value in the eyes of law. That means it cannot exist. It is illegitimate. This contract, a void agreement means a contract or an agreement which is no longer forcible. For example, it is something which is unlawful doing can also be an example for this. That is what we are going to study now. A contract between drug dealer and a buyer is a void contract. Of course, it is an illegal or illegitimate contract. If I ask you to kill someone and if I tell that I'll be paying you 5 lakhs, and if you kill that person and if you come and claim your money to me, and if I not give it to you, you cannot go to the court and file a petition on me, because it is illegitimate contact. That means it doesn't hold any value in the eyes of law. So as our topic is only about voidable contract, I just wanted to give a brief explanation about what all other topics are. Now let us quickly jump into the voidable contract. So voidable contract can be understood in many ways, but I want to start it with an example. So let us understand voidable contract with an example. But before this, I want to ask if there is any doubts. Can I have some responses? Okay. Considering it, there is no doubts. Let us quickly jump into voidable contracts. So there is an example here. We are just taking a hypothetical example, taking two names randomly, Jack and Tyler. So Jack is forcing Tyler to sell his house. So to make it more fancier, to use some law words, we are using the word coercion. Coercion means I'm forcing you and you're doing that act out of your will. So Jack is forcing Tyler to sell his house. Tyler gets scared and sells his house for $5,000. Let us regard the house has more value, and he's selling it out of his out of not his will, and he's selling it for lesser money. So now in this case, Tyler is treated as the aggrieved party or the plaintiff. That means the one who has suffered the wrong. So wrongdoer is considered as Jack. He is called the defendant, and Tyler is called the plaintiff, who is the one who has suffered the wrong. He has two options to do. He can either keep quiet and treat the contract as valid, or he can go out to the court of law and cancel the contract. Okay, he can tell that whatever the contract was, which was done between Tyler and Jack, was not out of his free consent, and he was threatened to sell his property. Okay, once the contract is cancelled, he would get back his house. When would he get back his house? Only when the restore is benefited. To restore the benefit. What does the word restore the benefit means? So now as we saw that Tyler gets scared and he's selling his house for these many dollars, say here $5,000, he'll have to restore that $5,000 back to Jack. Only then he'll get back his home. Okay. So in the example, Tyler had two options to perform. A contract wherein a plaintiff or the wrong sufferer gets two actions to perform. This type of contract, such a contract is called as voidable contract. Okay, voidable contract has some amount of lawful activity, or it holds some value in the eyes of law until and unless the plaintiff goes up to the court and tells, no, whatever the contract I have signed is out of my it was not from my free consent and I was forced, or any of these it was coercion or something. It holds some value in the eyes of law. That is exactly what a voidable contract is. When we get into the legal terms and when we define it, a contract where consent is obtained by fraud, coercion, or undue influence, misrepresentation, or any such unlawful activity are considered as voidable. So of course, in the previous meaning, we saw it considered for fraud in it and unlawful activity, everything. So it can be considered as a voidable contract. Now we'll have to take a case law to understand it better. Balfour versus Balfour. So to brief this case, we can, let me explain this case to you before reading it out. So the facts of this case, facts as in the points of this case, the actual meaning of this case is, Balfour and his wife went to England for vacation, and his wife became ill and she needed some medical attention. So she retained there. So Balfour agreed to pay monthly expenses for his wife, but he failed to pay. So wife had to sue his husband, her husband. So she goes up to the court of law and files a petition against her husband, telling her husband would be he told that he'd be paying this many amount of money to his wife, but he didn't pay. But this does not hold good in the eyes of law. Why? Because a relationship between husband and wife need not to be contract. That is what we are coming here. Judgment came out to be that agreements made between husband and wife to provide capitals are generally not contract. Capitals here as in monetary compensation, not monetary compensation, sorry, to provide money every month. That was capitals here. So at the end of the day, she didn't get her monetary compensation because it clearly mentions that agreement made between husband and wife are generally not contracts. So that is why she did not get her monetary compensation. That is what the conclusion tells to. So by this, I come to the end of my PPT. You can ask your questions now.
Yeah, hi Brinda, it was great, your seminar. We understood about our contract.
Thank you.
Can you explain about a few more examples with a contract or where it might be again avoidable?
Avoidable.
Yeah,
What?
contract. Where
Sorry.
the contract will not have a legitimate base.
You
With a
mean
few more examples.
you want me to explain more about voidable contracts?
Yes, yes, exactly. With more examples. With
Just a moment. Okay, now if you have understood what voidable contract exactly means, voidable contract which is made out of coercion or fraud means voidable contract, which doesn't have some meaning in the eyes of law exactly means what voidable contract is. So as in if I am forcing you to we saw many examples. So when I force you to give me something for this many amount and you get threatened for that and you do that activity back to me, it becomes illegal. As long as you stay quiet and if you're okay with that, it becomes a valid contract. But if you go to the court of law and if you tell that you were threatened and you didn't do those actions and you didn't agree to that action with your own consent or your free will, it becomes a voidable contract. So voidable contract here means as long as you stay quiet and as long as you're okay with the contract, it becomes okay and no one will be questioning you. If you don't want to if you want to breach the contract, you can obviously go to the court of law and tell that you didn't do this out of your free consent. So yeah, this is voidable contract.
so, in a nutshell, you are telling us that
Mm.
though process is legal, if
Yes,
the purpose is illegal, it's not a contract, right?
correct.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, Brinda, I have the other question. As you discuss in your case law,
Mhm.
that when the two of them, like individuals who came into an agreement when he cased a file against her wife, which cannot be claimed as an voidable agreement. May I know why?
Because as I said, the relationship or the capitals which are agreed by a husband and wife cannot generally become a contract. So not all agreements are contract. So this relationship between in the eyes of law, relationship between a husband and wife doesn't really have to come into a conclusion that it is a contract. It can be an agreement but not a contract.
It can be a social relationship, not on a legally perspective, right?
Yeah,
It's just a social relationship.
true.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
No more questions. Thank you.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you for attending. Have a great day.
Okay.